They tied me to the altar with prayer cords I had helped weave that morning. That was the part that broke me first. Not the black stone beneath my back. Not the blue candles trembling in the dark. Not the cold mist leaking from the crack below the altar. The cord. 3 days earlier, Elder Chiao had smiled at me and said the sect needed every hand. The rift beneath the lower sanctuary was widening. The wards were failing. The mountain was groaning in its sleep. So I served. I ground spirit ash until my fingers went numb. I copied sealing characters until blood spotted the brush. I carried water to the senior disciples. I held lamps while formation masters carved new lines into the floor. And when they asked me to weave white prayer cords, I thought they were for the altar pillars. I never imagined they were for my wrists. My name was Shen Rui. Outer disciple. No master. No famous bloodline. No heavenly ascension system mark glowing in my soul. The sect called me steady when they needed work done. They called me useless when rewards were given. But I trusted them. That was my mistake. The lower sanctuary sat under the hall of returning light, where only elders and chosen disciples were allowed. The walls were older than the sect itself, black and smooth, like the chamber had grown from the mountain's bones. At the center stood the altar. Below it was the rift. No one called it a mouth, but everyone thought it. A split ran through the stone, thin as a closed eye. From it came a whispering sound, like someone speaking through deep water. The elders told us the rift was an ancient wound in the world. If it opened, corrupted chi from the radiant abyss would swallow the mountain. They said sealing it required purity, courage, and faith. They left out sacrifice. Senior Brother Han stood beside the altar in ceremonial white. I had admired him since my first month in the sect. He had once taught me how to hold a practice sword without laughing at my shaking hands. Now he would not meet my eyes. Beside him stood Mei Lian, my closest friend in the outer court. She was the one who brought me sweet rice after punishment runs. The one who told me I would rise one day if I endured long enough. Her face was pale, but her hands stayed steady as she tightened the cord around my ankle. I tried to speak. A silence talisman had been pressed over my tongue. Elder Chiao raised both hands. Red sigils crawled along his wrists. Disciples of the Heavenly Ascension Sect, he said, tonight we save our mountain. The elders bowed. The chosen disciples bowed. No outer disciples were there. Only me. Elder Chiao continued. The rift demands a vessel. Not a life of power. Not a life of fame. A life unclaimed by heaven. A life without a star. My chest went cold. A life unclaimed by heaven. That was what they called me behind my back. The boy with no resonance. The boy who failed every awakening bell. The boy whose meridians shivered but never opened. They had not chosen me because I was brave. They had chosen me because no one important would complain. The altar began to hum. The prayer cords brightened around my wrists, ankles, chest, and throat. Every knot held my own fingerprints. The sect had made me prepare my own cage. Elder Chiao lowered a bronze needle toward my forehead. Tiny words crawled over its point. Fear clawed through me. I strained against the cords. The altar drank the movement and sent pain through every bone. The gag sealed my scream inside my skull. Mei Lian looked away. That hurt worse than the pain. Senior Brother Han leaned close. His voice was almost kind. Forgive us, Rui. The rift is closing from the other side. We only have one chance. If we wait, whatever lives beyond it will decide the terms. Whatever lives beyond it? Until then, I thought the ritual was meant to seal something out. Now I understood. The elders were trying to bargain before the thing below shut the door. Elder Chiao pressed the bronze needle to my brow. Cold entered me. Not pain. Not at first. It felt like a finger dipping into my soul and stirring. The candles went dark. Every formation line flashed white. The split beneath the altar opened. The whispering stopped. Silence filled the sanctuary so completely that I heard my own heartbeat slow. Then something below me breathed. The altar shifted. Not with stone. With meaning. One moment it was a slab. The next, it was a lid. And I was tied to the top of it. A voice rose from underneath. Not into my ears. Into the part of me that had never answered the awakening bells. Little unclaimed thing. The elders froze. Elder Chiao whispered the ritual response. Ancient witness, accept the vessel and close the wound. The voice ignored him. It spoke to me. Who offered you? The silence talisman cracked across my tongue. Air rushed into my mouth. I gasped hard enough to choke. Elder Chiao's eyes widened. Answer only the ritual, he snapped. But the thing below waited. Who offered you? My mouth trembled. I could have said nothing. I could have died obedient, quiet, useful to the end. Instead, I looked at Mei Lian. She was crying now. I looked at Han. His hand rested on his sword. I looked at Elder Chiao. His face held no pity. Only impatience. Everyone I trusted, I said. The altar became warm beneath my back. The thing below made a sound like a mountain laughing in a dream. Trust is a fine knife, it said. It cuts deepest when held by familiar hands. Elder Chiao drove the bronze needle down. The tip touched my brow and shattered. Black light rolled outward. Elders stumbled. Chosen disciples cried out. Mei Lian fell to her knees. The white prayer cords turned ash gray. For the first time in my life, words appeared before my eyes. System seed detected. False sacrifice protocol rejected. Abyssal claimant interference present. Host compatibility uncertain. Begin trial? Yes or no? I stared at the words through tears. My whole life, I had prayed for the heavenly ascension system to notice me. I had stood under awakening bells while younger disciples received titles, paths, and glowing marks. I had clapped until my palms stung while everyone else was chosen. Now the system had finally appeared when I was tied down for slaughter. The thing below whispered, choose carefully, little unclaimed thing. Elder Chiao saw my eyes moving. His fear turned to hunger. He knew. The system had awakened in me. Seize him, Elder Chiao shouted. Do not let the vessel destabilize. Han drew his sword. Mei Lian stood between him and the altar by instinct. Or guilt. Her hands shook. Rui, she said, if you can hear me, do not resist. Please. If the rift opens, everyone dies. Everyone. There was the moral knife. If I broke the ritual, the sect might fall. The innocent servants above might fall. The outer disciples who knew nothing might fall. The children in the valley below might see the mountain split. But if I accepted, I might save the same people who decided my life was worth less than their fear. Would refusing make me a monster? Or had they become monsters first when they called murder duty? The prompt pulsed. Begin trial? I asked the only question that mattered. If I agree, do I become their sacrifice? The system did not answer. The thing below did. No. The rift widened another finger's breadth. I saw no flames inside. No claws. No abyssal army. I saw an eye. Vast. Silver. Patient. It looked at me like I was not waste. Like I was a locked door. If you agree, the thing below said, you become the judge. I smiled through blood on my lip. Yes, I whispered. The world turned inside out. The cords sank into my skin and became lines of cold fire. The altar dropped away, but I did not fall. I hung above the rift while the sanctuary stretched around me like wet ink. Every disciple became a candle flame. Every elder became a knot. Every lie became a thread. And I saw the ritual for what it truly was. The rift had not demanded a sacrifice. The elders had. Long ago, the heavenly ascension sect made a covenant with the prison keeper beneath the mountain. It guarded a wound left by a dead god's failed ascension. When the seal weakened, the sect was supposed to send down a judge. Someone with no worldly claim. Someone overlooked enough to see every life clearly. The judge would weigh the sect. If it remained worthy, the prison keeper would lend power and the rift would close. If it had rotted, the judge would choose what deserved to survive. But generations of elders had twisted the covenant. They stopped sending judges. They sent sacrifices. Orphans. Failed disciples. Servants. If this story has you listening this far, subscribe to Azure Inkblade so the next chapter finds you instead of getting buried. It helps us keep making more of these every week. Now, back to the chapter. Quiet people no one would search for. They fed the rift terror and called it tradition. The thing below had accepted none of them. It had only waited for someone to answer. For me. Trial initiated. Role assigned, rift judge. Temporary authority granted. Objective, determine whether the heavenly ascension sect may continue. The sanctuary snapped back into place. I floated above the altar, still bound, but no longer helpless. The cords shone black and silver. Each knot opened like an eye. Elder Chiao fell backward. Impossible, he whispered. The thing below chose me, I said. My voice was not loud, but the chamber heard it. The mountain heard it. Han raised his sword, then stopped. His blade reflected my face. My eyes were filled with silver characters. Rui, he said, we can fix this. That almost made me laugh. Fix. He had stood there while they tied me down. Mei Lian crawled toward the altar. I did not know if she wanted to save me or beg forgiveness. I wanted to hate her cleanly. I could not. She had betrayed me, but her fear was real. Her guilt was real. Some part of her had believed the elders when they said my death would save everyone. The system gave me three choices. Condemn the sect. Pardon the sect. Separate the guilty from the innocent. Condemnation would shatter the old halls and force the survivors to flee. The rift would close, but the sect's name would end. Pardon would seal the rift and leave the elders in power. My awakening would be stolen, studied, maybe cut out of me. Separate would open the mountain's memory. Everyone tied to the ritual would be judged by their willing part in it. The innocent would be released. The guilty would become wardens below, standing in darkness until the next true judge came. It was not mercy. It was not revenge. It was justice with teeth. Elder Chiao threw himself to his knees. Disciple Shen, he said, spare the sect, and I will make you core disciple. I will announce your awakening before dawn. A few hours earlier, those words would have been my dream. Now they sounded small. How many before me? I asked. His mouth closed. How many sacrifices? No one answered. The thing below did. 37. The number struck the room harder than thunder. 37 people like me. 37 lives folded into silence so elders could keep their robes clean. The system pulsed. Choose. I looked at Mei Lian. Tell me the truth. Did you know before tonight? Her eyes flooded. Yes. The word cracked something inside me. She pressed her forehead to the floor. I thought there would be another way, she sobbed. Elder Chiao said if I warned you, the rift would open early. He said everyone would die. I was afraid. Fear. That was the chain around the whole sect. Fear made cowards obedient. Fear made kindness quiet. Fear made murder look like wisdom. I looked at Han. Did you know? He nodded once. I was ordered to stand guard. And you obeyed. His sword lowered. Yes. Above us, the mountain groaned. Dust fell from the ceiling. The rift was still closing from the other side, but now I understood what that meant. The prison keeper was shutting the gate. This was the last chance for judgment before the covenant ended forever. If I pardoned them, rot would remain. If I condemned them, innocent people would pay for crimes they never saw. So I chose the third path. Separate the guilty from the innocent, I said. The sanctuary screamed with memory. Silver light burst from the altar and ran through the floor lines. For one heartbeat, the entire heavenly ascension sect became transparent. I saw kitchen servants asleep beside warm ovens. I saw outer disciples practicing forms under moonlight because no one taught them by day. I saw elders in locked rooms signing old death records with blank names. I saw Han outside my cell the night before, hearing me pray, and doing nothing. I saw Mei Lian holding the warning note she never gave me until the ink blurred in her fist. The system marked them all. Those who knew nothing received pale gold light. Those who suspected and stayed silent received gray. Those who planned, commanded, or willingly served the ritual burned red. Elder Chiao burned brightest. No, he whispered. The floor opened beneath him. Not a pit. A doorway. Black stone unfolded like petals. Cold silver light rose from below. He tried to run. The red mark on his chest pulled him backward. One by one, the guilty elders were dragged to the opening. No hands touched them. No chains wrapped them. Their own marks pulled them down. They screamed promises. They screamed explanations. They screamed that the sect needed them. The rift did not care. Han's mark glowed gray, then trembled toward red. Mei Lian's mark trembled too. This was the part stories make easy. They want betrayal to turn love into ash. They want the victim to become a blade and cut without hesitation. But real betrayal leaves roots. I remembered Han correcting my grip. I remembered Mei Lian sharing rice. I remembered wanting them to be better than they were. So I made my second choice. Gray marks remember, I said. Let them live with witness. The system accepted. Han and Mei Lian collapsed as silver script burned around their wrists. Not chains. Records. Every time they lied about that night, the script would tighten. Every time they ignored another cruelty, it would burn. Every time they chose courage, it would fade. That was their sentence. Not death. Not forgiveness. A chance to become someone who deserved to survive. Elder Chiao fell last. As the doorway took him, he looked up at me with hatred. You think it chose you because you are worthy? He spat. It chose you because you are empty. The thing below answered for me. Empty vessels can hold truth. The doorway closed. The rift narrowed until it was a thin dark line. Then even that vanished. The altar cracked in half. I fell. Mei Lian caught my shoulder before my head struck stone. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped me. I pulled away. Not cruelly. Enough for her to understand. Outside, bells began to ring. Not warning bells. Not awakening bells. A sound no living disciple had heard before. The covenant bell. The system hovered in my sight. Trial complete. Sect status, severed from false covenant. Rift status, closed. Host status, alive. Permanent path initializing. Title acquired, Rift judge. First commandment, no life is unclaimed. I laughed once. It came out broken. All those years, the sect told me heaven had not chosen me. Maybe heaven had been waiting for me to stop begging the wrong people. By dawn, the lower sanctuary was gone. In its place stood a black stone stairway descending into sealed darkness. The surviving elders tried to gather authority. The gold-marked disciples refused to kneel. The gray-marked ones could not lie. Truth moved through the sect like fire through dry grass. Names were spoken. 37 names. Some belonged to servants. Some to outer disciples. Some to children taken in during hard winters and never seen again. We carved every name into the hall of returning light. Mine was not among them. I was alive. That felt impossible. Han came to me 3 days later. He knelt without being asked and placed his sword on the ground between us. I do not deserve your forgiveness, he said. No, I told him. He flinched. But you can earn your next breath. Mei Lian did not ask for forgiveness. She brought me the warning note she had failed to give me. The paper was ruined, but I kept it. Not because I wanted to remember her betrayal. Because I wanted to remember the cost of silence. A week later, the system gave me my first true mission. A new line appeared at sunset while I stood before the sealed stair. Rift residue detected in outer valleys. False covenant remnants active. Investigate before the next moonrise. Failure condition, the rift reopens elsewhere. From far below, the prison keeper whispered one last time. Little judge. I swallowed. What? The voice seemed almost amused. Do not trust every closed door. Across the valley, 3 distant shrines lit with silver fire. And beneath my feet, something knocked from the other side of the sealed stone. Not begging to be let out. Warning me to hurry. My sect sacrificed me. The thing below chose me instead. Now every hidden altar in the heavenly ascension world knows my name. And the next one is already opening. For more cultivation, system awakenings, betrayal, and dark ascension stories, follow Azure Inkblade and Red Heavenly Ascension System on Royal Road. You can also find more story videos on the Azure Inkblade YouTube channel.